All right. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where in the world you are. And on behalf of all of us at Celigo, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us for today's platform update. My name is Dave Wallen. I'm a director of product marketing here at Celigo. And along with me, I've got three of our product leaders. We've got Tony Curcio, Adam Keys, and Tyler Lampartner. Guys, let's introduce yourselves. Tony, start with you.
Sure, happy to. Thanks, Dave. I'm the director of product management. I lead core platform, some of our API management, a few other investments in our growth areas. Good to be part today.
Right. Adam?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. My name's Adam Keys. I'm also a director of product management. My team complements Tony's team. I do a lot of the value-added services and add-ons to our core platform.
And Tyler?
And I'm Tyler Lampartner, principal product manager here under Tony, working on data ingestion, but help with the platform a lot and have a lot of experience in general. And I'm sure you guys have seen me here the past few times.
That's right. It's always great to have Tyler, who started out as a power user, became a solutions consultant, and is now on our product team. So always a extra special person to have join us. So we have a full agenda, but before we get into it, a couple of quick housekeeping items. For those of you that attended these webinars in the past, we are using a new platform with a new interface. There's an attendee engagement bar on the right side of your screen, and here you can access the session group chat, submit questions through the Q&A, and you'll download some other resources that we've attached. So please submit questions through the Q&A session, not the session chat, although we do encourage you to use the session chat throughout the webinar to drop comments, share your thoughts with your fellow attendees. And at the end, there'll be a survey, and we really would appreciate if you take the time to share your feedback so we can continue to make these better and better for you. Let me see. Ooh, slide advance is, there it is. So we're going to, as far as today's agenda, we're going to start with the latest app connectors, as well as advances in platform connectivity. We'll review the latest updates to our AI capabilities, some upgrades to our integration lifecycle management, some UX enhancements, finally a special product announcement, a new product that we are releasing, and a review of additional resources, including our new Builders Hub, and then finally some open Q&A. Okay, team, are we ready? Great. Right. So let's start with connectivities. You know, we used to be able to go through all the new connectors because there weren't that many, and Adam's team has really, stepped it up in terms of the number. So I'm not going to go through all of these at all, but you can get the details on these and even more connectors in the release notes for the last two releases. And as far as like some of the new connectivity stuff, I'm going to pass things over to Adam.
Great. I'm actually going to pass it to Tyler. Tyler will walk you through the next few slides.
No problem. All right. So the first update we've got for you is we are upgrading the Salesforce API version that we're using for pretty much everything you do with Salesforce, all your exports and imports. We're currently on version 54 of Salesforce's APIs, but we are upgrading to version 61. So we're going to be on the latest version. This is going to give you support for a few other field types that Salesforce has introduced in that time period, along with new S objects. So now you can access just about everything in Salesforce, and you're up to date. So there's nothing you need to do on your side. It's just something we're doing behind the scenes to make that update to the new version. And then with that, we've got additional Salesforce updates. This one's pretty big for us. So we've implemented Salesforce's bulk API 2.0 support for exports. So now if you need to get really mass amounts of data out of Salesforce and into like a data warehouse or maybe object storage, something like that, so you can report off of it, you now have a easier, more efficient way to grab data out of Salesforce using their bulk 2.0 APIs. And I'll actually go into a demo here later to kind of show it to you. But what we've seen overall is compared to REST API, we're seeing about a 2 to 6x improvement when you're exporting, millions of records at a time. It really scales with the more records you're exporting compared to the REST API. And additionally, Salesforce has different API quota limits for bulk APIs versus the REST APIs. So you can basically segment off your flows between the two. Maybe your app-to-app integrations, you stay on REST APIs. But then these bulk operations or extracts, you move over move over those exports over to the bulk API to kind of segment your API usage across what Salesforce allots you. And with that, I will hop into a demo. Maybe. Let's see here.
And also worth noting that there's a blog, a link to a blog post on this topic in the resources section, along with some other cool stuff. So back to Tyler.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks for someone saving me there for turning off the slides. I couldn't find the button.
No dead air.
Okay, so here we are in a integration within Celigo that I've built. Here I've just got one flow because the couple updates that we've got, I've just put into one flow here. In this case, I'm migrating data over from Salesforce to Snowflake and NSAW. And you can see here on my source, I've got Salesforce export where I'm grabbing all the contacts. And when I hop in here, it looks pretty familiar, but we now have a couple more options available. So your API now we now have a toggle for choosing which API you want to use against Salesforce, whether it's the REST API, which is what everything has historically used, or the new bulk API 2.0. The SQL query itself is the same field. And then we've additionally added a new field for including archived and deleted records for your exports. So historically, the Salesforce SQL query would only return non-deleted records because typically for an app-to-app integration, you don't want to sync over deleted records to another system. But for reporting purposes, you do want to sync deleted records to make sure that you sync those records over to your database so that something was deleted and you don't want to report off of it anymore. So we now included this checkbox, and if you check it, any results returned in this query will include deleted records and non-deleted records. Salesforce themselves hold those deleted records for about 14 days or so, unless you do like a bulk delete option, in which case they do not hold them at all. And to note between the differences here, Salesforce themselves has a few different limits on the bulk API as far as like querying compound fields and if the query is too complex. So the query in general for bulk API is a little bit more simple. But if you try it out and it fails, you can go to Salesforce's documentation and figure out what exactly those limits are between the two. And lastly, there isn't a preview option for the bulk API because the bulk API is essentially it's an async process, right? We send Salesforce a request to run that query. And then once the query is complete, we then fetch the results for it. So when you're in the UI here building it out, you won't have a preview for bulk API, but typically what I do is come to the REST API preview. I'll populate my mock output data here with that preview data, and then I'll just flip over to the bulk API later. And then I said lastly, but then actually lastly is you've got a maximum record request here. In case you need it, sometimes Salesforce can time out if you're requesting too many records per fetch. So you have the option here to specify that the batching that we're doing against them in case you're running into any timeout issues given Salesforce's limitations there. Cool. That's it for Salesforce updates. And if I go back to the slides here. There we go.
All right.
All right. So then I'll go back to that same demo here, but the couple updates that we got is the last update we had in August, we implemented a new bulk load feature for Snowflake, which we're reminding you here. But additionally, we've added that same functionality to NSAW, and we'll keep adding this functionality to different databases, data warehouses in the future, such as SQL Query, BigQuery, MySQL, you name it, pretty much everything's going to be getting this at some point here in the near term. But essentially what this does is we are extracting data from a source, and whenever we go to load it to the destination, right now, whenever you use the platform, we're basically just making a bunch of insert statements to the database. So if we get 1,000 records from the source, we then insert it into your target database. But what this is doing is it's exporting all of those from your source. It's aggregating it into basically into a file. Once that file is aggregated and created, we load that file into the database. And the reason for doing this is it just makes it a lot more efficient. You are not constantly querying that database running statements against it to insert data into it. So overall, the compute on your warehouse is lowered. It also saves you credits, especially for like Snowflake. It's saving you compute because every time that warehouse is up and going, it's costing you money. And if you have tons of other queries running for reports and stuff at the same time, you're kind of hogging up the system for all those insert queries coming in. So for NSIW, we've implemented the same feature where we now bulk load, aggregate to a file, and then bulk load it into your NSIW tables at once. And to show that, I found the button this time. Getting the thumbs up there. So I'm going to Snowflake, but also going to NSIW with a branch flow here. And you can see when I go into my NSIW step, I've got my connection. Again, the NSIW connection is really easy to set up. It's just username, password, choose your wallet, and then service name. But now I have this new option for use optimized bulk load. The previous option has been renamed to use batch insert SQL query. And now the recommended option is this first one. You get to create your destination table. So for my drop-down list here, we go and fetch the metadata from NSIW to fetch your table list. In this case, I'm going to contacts, Salesforce contact, and then it lets you specify a primary key. If you have actual primary keys defined on your table, we will pre-populate this field with those primary keys. But you can use any field on the table. I know a lot of people don't actually add those table constraints. So basically, we just give you a multi-select dropdown to select the different fields that you want to use as the merging key. If you don't specify a primary key here, we'll just do an insert into that table instead of merging it based off of that key. Cool. And that's pretty much it. Map your fields in like you would anything else. And we just do that all in the back end. All right, back to the slides. And then this is just showing you the same thing in a screenshot form with some bullet points, but now I'll pass it back to Dave.
Actually, you're passing it to Adam.
Gotcha, back to me. So yeah, great, thanks. So my team is the connector team. We actually build new and update existing connectors. If you don't see one, we'd love to hear from you. You can submit those via the product portal. So on IO, go to your top right corner, select the question mark. You'll see product portal, and by all means, please go in, please enter it. We'd love to hear what you're using, how you're using it, your use cases. We'll certainly get those built. We want to support our customers. And with that said, I will now transition to Tony to walk us through some advancements in AI.
All right, thanks, Adam. I think I'm going to pass it to Dave. No, I'm joking. I'll keep this time. All right, so yeah, we have been working with AI for a couple of years now in different ways, and I'll do a brief recap. And we had some incremental improvements in the last, this current release. So we'll talk about those. But we really believe AI is a transformative technology for everybody. Right, things in a year ago looked very different than they do now. The ways that we were using AI for really the Gen AI revolution that we've seen were great, but they've just accelerated so quickly in the last year. And I'm a strong believer they're just going to continue to. And so, how do we think it's going to be meaningful to our Celigo customers and our Celigo product? It's reimagining how we, are building, operating, and governing at scale, and like who can do it, right? Lowering the threshold of the things you need to know to be an expert, making it much more accessible to a broader set of people. So with that in mind, the strategy we've been executing is really a three-pronged approach. So at the core, we have artificial intelligence that we've put into the product that we use behind the scenes to make the product better. So things that we're doing, we just finished that connector section. We are generating some of our connectors using AI technology. Right, that's a very accessible path for development now. We've greatly improved that, and you see the velocity of the new connectors that are coming out. We've also done things like instrument anomaly detection behind the scenes using predictive models and artificial intelligence. So as we're running our cloud infrastructure, and things aren't behaving the way you might anticipate. Let's say there's a third-party software solution that's for some reason taking an outage that we didn't expect, being able to sense and detect some of those kind of things. Maybe it's not an outage, maybe it's going down slowly for lots of our customers, and being able to see those things so we can take preemptive actions is an important part of how we operate. And of course, one of our distinctive features within Celigo is our built-in exception management. And we have talked about for a good part of a couple of years now how we are using AI specifically in that way to look at errors, categorize them, and then take appropriate actions in whether or not we retry, replay, slow down, how quickly we are trying to interact with those third parties if we're hitting rate limits. Again, there's a lot of things that we do that are dependent on some of the ways that we're using intelligence at that layer. Moving to the left, AI-powered UX, you'll see this with respect to code assistance, right? The Gen AI features that we have now on the product where you could type natural language and say, can you generate me a script that pivots this information or flattens this array or does any one of these things? And then we build that for you in JavaScript, similar capabilities with respect to handlebar expressions, similar capabilities, again, already in product for generating SQL or even with Salesforce SOQL. Again, all code assistants that we put into the product. And then the most recent release that we would have talked about in the spring, our knowledge bot help features that are now within the UI. Little question mark that floats there on the bottom right. Sorry, not the question mark. The AI iconography. Click that, you'll get the ability to ask a question in natural language. And we go out and survey all of our knowledge docs to bring the right information to you within the context of the user experience. And finally, AI agents, your ability as a customer to build automations that themselves are intelligent and leverage artificial intelligence. And of course, a lot of the things that we've done in that space is build out connectivity to large language models, build out connectivity to vector databases. And if you see any of the demos that we do or some of the templates that we put out on the marketplace, it's some of those patterns where we're using large language models and vector databases to do RAG, retrieval augmented generation, to make sure that when you have AI that builds something like an email or help recommendations like our knowledge bot, it's grounded in the reality of your corporate database or structure or wherever that information is within your environment. And so preventing things like hallucinations. So it's a very effective way to work. Again, some templates that are out there in the marketplace with that. All right, so that's like the landscape of how we're investing, some of the capabilities we've already brought. At this release, again, incremental improvements to a number of these things as we are moving forward. So I'll go over those very quickly. Next slide. Oh, I'm in charge of next slide. Next slide. Okay. I visited a few of these innovations. One of them that I didn't yet talk about was the reuse of flow steps. Again, another existing capability in the product, which is the when you are selecting a new flow step and you tell it something like Shopify as the application, you'll see that we suggest different things you can choose. Now, this is coming out of both an analysis of all of your existing content. So you see for your organization, the things that you and other users have built, where you might have used Shopify in the past, you will see those flow steps there if you want to reuse one. And we also suggest out of Marketplace. Again, we've inventoried and had the natural language and vector databases kind of associating all of that language to the content that we've pre-built that's available to you. And again, we hope that it increases the level of productivity with the product in building your solutions. Okay, so now into features, or what's now available in this release. So transformations. In the prior releases, we've added help in a number of different areas and code assistance in a number of areas. We've now added those also to transformation rules. And so as you are looking to do things like build a different model coming out of a particular step, using that transformation feature, you can make use of AI to do things like auto mapping. This is both from a iconography on the screen as well as from the prompting that's available within the node. And so again, the same kind of capabilities we would have supplied a few releases ago in Mapper, now also available in transformation. And You can see that here, the icon that's available. If you click this, it knows exactly what you want to do. And of course, in many of our screens now, we have the Celigo AI. If you want to type in natural language, the kind of help you're looking for Celigo AI to do for you, you can actually also express in that area. And you'll find this consistently in a lot of the areas with our code assistants. So where you're writing hooks, scripts, where you're also doing handlebar type expressions in the AFV advanced field editor. The knowledge bot was something that we introduced about a quarter ago. It's gotten a lot of use. Again, this inventories goes out and searches against all of our known articles in our help center, brings back a relevant summary of the information that responds to your question, and also gives you the links to the most relevant articles. So if you want to go and read some more, you have that information immediately available to you from a click. So, and again, this is in the product, so you never have to leave. That little icon I was mentioning, the AI look-at icon, click that, and this is immediately available. A couple of changes that we've improved results primarily, and also streaming results. And so there was a latency inherent in the way it was working before, where if you asked a question, you had some pauses. We've increased the using their AI streaming API in order to make sure that we can give that information to you as it's being delivered to us. And so leveraging streaming in order to achieve that better use experience. And then again, if you're not familiar with it yet, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see our little AI icon. Click that, you'll get this dialog box. One of the other enhancements, if we played with the scoring, and again, give us feedback on this if you find, but we had areas of confidence that we were playing with some thresholds on, getting a little bit technical here. But at some point, the result set is a greatly diminished response to the accuracy. And what we want to do is not give inaccurate results. We'd rather give more accurate results. So when we hit one of these scenarios now, you'll see a new message there. Now, one of the things that we're doing is we're monitoring the kind of things that are asked. So we're finding gaps in our documentation, gaps where we're not getting successful responses. We'll be able to take actions on those as well. But of course, and like in all things, give us feedback if you are trying to find information that we're not making available to you. I'll say, though, generally great hit rates with the kind of monitoring that we're able to do on the questions that are asked, the kind of responses we're giving. Again, I think this is a great accelerator for people's use. We've continued to roll out the SQL-based generation. So in natural language, you ask for something like get all of the contacts from my database within your, let's say, Oracle driver. What are things we can do is we can, for a variety of our connectors now, database connectors, go out, retrieve the metadata, and have that in context. So when we build the SQL expression, it's actually built with your specific tables in mind. So if you say something like get all the contacts, but you don't have a contact table, you have a customer table, obviously natural language is really, really good at making those associations. We bridge that over to the metadata that's actually available in your particular database you're connected to and generate the SQL with that specific information in mind. So it's a great set of capabilities. Again, this works with Salesforce SOQL as well, or SOQL, depending on how you say it. And so if you are not a SQL expert, you get the advantage of having that Gen AI code assist right there for you. And again, accessible, similar to what we saw on the prior screen. So a very consistent user experience. Whenever you're looking for help, you should find one of these boxes at the bottom. If you're on a particular screen that doesn't have it yet, we're progressively just marching through the whole product and training the AI to work within the context of whatever the particular advanced editor is in this particular context. All right, and with that, I will, with 100% confidence, pass the baton over to Mr. Tyler. Tyler.
Thanks, Tony. Yep, so we've got a few different ILM updates for you this time. And this has been a request for a little while, but a lot of people have been asking for this one. And it's selective merge for ILM. So with the September release here, you can now selectively merge different aspects of your integrations between one another. really, like, if you rename stuff within Sandbox and you don't want to have that rename down to production, or you have different connections within Sandbox and production, you can just not have those as a part of the merge. Just about any property that's within an integration, you can select it to not push over when we merge those changes down from production or back, or vice versa. So what I'll do now is kind of show you what it looks like in action. There we go. And here I've got an integration in production. And you can see here I've got my name doesn't have Sandbox in it. It's just a really simple use case example of just naming convention. But again, it could be anything. I've got my name here that does not have Sandbox in it, but I have my flow name here that does have Sandbox in it. And when I flip over to production, or sorry, into Sandbox, you can see my flow doesn't have Sandbox, but my integration does have Sandbox. And when I go over to the revisions tab, I now have this new option to ignore fields during pool. When I click it, you're presented with a list of all the different fields that you can ignore during a pull request. So flow names, flow being disabled or enabled, anything on exports. It could be like a SQL query for your export. Maybe you have like a limit, maybe you have like a limit or something in your export query that you don't want that limit once it goes down to production. Just about anything here you can override, that you can limit from being pulled. So in this case, I don't want the integration name to be pulled down into my production environment. But if I flip back to production here and go back to my, I can spell there, go back to my integration here, I can make a new pull request. Just name it second pull, something like that. Choose my integration from Sandbox, go next. And then you can review the changes. So in this case, my only change here is the flow being renamed. So it ignored that integration name again from going into this merge and pull request. I can go next and then merge those changes. So again, this just lets you ignore different fields so that you can keep them different between different environments, really enhancing what you can do between those multi-environment setups. And this is just a screenshot again of that, what I've just demoed out. So I'll pass it then over to, with 50% confidence, Adam.
Good call, Tyler, and thank you for that. So UX enhancements, I really wanted to introduce this section as it's not just UX enhancements, it's really we're trying to elevate the builder experience. Between Tony's team and my team, we have a lot of focus on how we empower users, enable them, give them a delightful experience. So really the focus here and even on our extended roadmap is around the builder experience. So our first experience, and I'm going to admit that I'm a Windows user. Now I might be on an island on my own team. I am I think one person who finds Windows delightful, but it's good to see that I'm not alone in our customer base and our users. Many of us use Windows. And being a Windows user, we may be subject to some lag. So if you're typing in a certain screen, a certain field, you may be seeing some lag on your screen. And that's because your CPU is spiking. So we kind of reviewed that. We took out the root causes. And of course, we're trying to delight our users across whatever platform you're on. So we put in place a feature that will reduce that lag. And again, hopefully make the experience just overall keying in information from screen to screen better for the Windows user. Our next feature, again, more focused on builders. Tony spoke to this on his section. We are focused on reusability. How do we expose pre-built assets that you can either build yourself or export in our marketplace? This is just another use case for that. So this is a new feature that we released earlier on in the year. It's around basically flow bubble steps being reusable for you. In a source or a destination, you can actually choose from what you've already built, what's in your selective flows already, or what's in the marketplace. We've added different filters as well on both the source and destinations to revise those filters to get more information that you want to see, return back for your existing steps. Again, we're trying to delight our users. We want to make sure this feature, which we think is a great feature, is really reusable. It delivers the results you want to see and makes it easier for you to build flows.
And then our last feature, the marketplace. Again, we spend a lot of time and effort building assets we want our customers to use. We want to make sure the marketplace experience is there to discover the assets you need. We're trying to improve that experience quarter over quarter, release over release, improving filters, better results returned. And what you'll see here again is a few marketplace changes, really just refining results that return back to you, being able to add more switches, more filters, and get crisper responses. Better collection of assets returned to you in our marketplace. So again, we want to build assets that customers like, but we also want to make it easy to discover, for you to find, and you to use. And then for our big special announcement, so something my team has been working on for a little while is what we call Celigo B2B Manager. So obviously, we've done EDI for many, many years. Celigo is built upon a framework to do this well. I want to make sure that we have first-class support for both EDI and B2B, and therefore we are introducing our new product line called Celigo B2B Manager. Really, our focus here is around reducing time to trade. When you do B2B, a lot of it's EDI-based. Those connections just take a while. The experience can be longer than what you'd hope for. We're trying to reduce that time, make it easier for you to trade, quicker time to trade with your critical trading partners. We also want to make sure that visibility control is with you on our platform. Many who do B2B have to bring in other applications. We want to unify you. We want that one view, one platform to kind of support all your EDI and B2B use cases. In doing so, we also built a framework that's really reusable. It's meant for scale. It's not meant for 2-3 trading partners. We want to scale you up. We want 10, 50, 100 trading partners. We're built for scale that will lower your cost of EDI, lower your cost of B2B, but allow the reuse and the reusability and the pre-built assets we have. Also scaling your IT and EDI resources. Again, the way we designed this system is to equip different types of users to actually build B2B flows. And then lastly, again, we want to complement EDI and B2B. We want the one platform that can service all your needs. B2B Manager itself, it's a unified B2B solution. So essentially what we've done here is we've built a collection of pre-built assets, trading partner connectors. So we're going out to all the top trading partners in the space across retail, big box stores, you name it, hardware stores. We're pre-building those assets. Our goal is to make sure you can get up and trading as fast as possible. So why not actually pre-build those assets for you so your connectors are ready to go when you need them. We also centralized EDI profile administration. So essentially what we've done in the past is you would have to key in information at the flow level and very specific exports and imports. We centralize all the key EDI resources in one profile. We have a new screen and new dashboard for that as well. And again, that database of EDI, lookup values are now centralized. You can use those same values as just lookup values downstream across your various flows. We've also created an EDI dashboard. So many views, we already have 2 views in our system. We want to make sure you have a view of EDI and a consolidated account level dashboard. So many of you have dashboards at the flow level, the tile level. You also have the high level account level. What we've done is we know most EDI implementations go across many tiles. So we built an account level view for you for EDI. And it's a nice way to just see information in EDI context, sender receiver IDs, control numbers, functional acknowledgement status. All the things you kind of expect to see with B2B and EDI, we pre-built that dashboard for you. Our pre-built EDI ERP templates. Again, we're trying to accelerate your time to value. We can actually take implementations. We'll repackage up things we know work. We'll implement those for certain ERP packages along with our TP connectors. Again, our goal is how do we get the 2 sides connected and talking as fast as possible. We're offering as much pre-built as we possibly can. Accelerators for you to fully customizable. You can use to implement your EDI solutions. We also support all the standard protocols, and we added one more in. We added VAN. So we have never actually had a pre-built VAN connection, but we do now. We actually went with a third-party vendor. We partner with them to get your VAN traffic up as quickly and easy as possible. You do not have to go and get your own VAN contract. You can use our services, but if you have your own VAN, that's fantastic. But if you need one, we also have one. It's a good price. It's easy to get up and running. And again, a kind of 360 view of your EDI, AS2, the FTP suite. VAN is a critical part of that. So we want to make sure you have everything you need to build your flows. And last piece, API and B2B. We are trying to look forward and marry the 2 together. We know EDI permeates throughout the industry across different industries, but we're seeing, of course, the trends towards API. We want to be in front of that. We want to offer whatever connection is available. So if it's an EDI connection, we'll offer that. If it's an API connection, we'll also offer that. We try to make this as easy for you to implement as possible, marrying whatever you need. EDI, API, could be a CSV over FTP. We want to make sure all those different forms of trading are available to you, and using as much pre-built as possible, again, to accelerate your time to value and get those implementations in place. And lastly, just some of the key dates for us. So we are generally available now for B2B Manager. For big box retailers, we want to focus on retail industry upfront, and we also focus on the order to cash use cases. We have plans to offer more use cases, more industries as we kind of go into the second half of this year and into 2025. We're also looking to add in 3PL use cases. So again, we kind of focus on big box and some of the core big retailers. 3PL is a fast follower for that. We also want to make sure that it's not just North America. We also want to make sure we have a roadmap and you're able to trade with European trading partners. EDIFACT is a fast follower. We should have that in around the end of this year, first month of next year. And then learn more and get started. I mean, contact your account manager. We have an upcoming webinar. If you look at the docs section, there's a link there. You can actually register for our webinar coming in October. Please, contact us. We'd be happy to hear from you, share your use cases, share your interests, attend our webinar. We'd be happy to present what we have in more depth. And now, Dave, over to you, I believe, to talk about additional resources.
You got it. Excellent. Yeah. So let's, as we said, this webinar is not meant to be a comprehensive repeat of everything in the past 2 releases. There's too much to do. So we have lots of other places for you to find this stuff. Before we get to the Q&A, first, the place for all that is your help center. You're going to find full release notes for every release with additional information on new features, updates with links to articles with more detail and multimedia on every topic. You can simply click on the What's New tab at the top of the help desk screen, and it'll take you straight there. And release notes are only a small part of the help center. Includes our complete knowledge base and access to tech support, the community section, which is great if you got a question that's more than a simple how-to. If you want to see if you got a unique problem, you want to see if someone else has tried it. Celigo University, right, to provide tech-savvy business users and IT developers with free online training and the ability to attend live sessions, access on-demand courses, and even go through the learning paths and achieve certifications. And before, during, or after certification, anyone who's working on custom flows, either you're customizing a template or you're creating a flow from scratch, you can get extra help during our office hours. These are typically held weekly on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. to 11:20 Pacific time. And you can also access the registration form for that from the help and feedback section in the Help Center. Did I miss anything there, guys? Oh, yes, I did, because we've got something new. We've got the Builders Hub. So this is a curated section of the Celigo public website. That's it's got technical multimedia content. It's really designed for the beginner or early intermediate builder to help them get started. So if you've got folks on your team who are interested in learning about the platform, but they're not really ready for Celigo U, or they don't have the time to commit to certifications, they just want to really get an idea of how to get started, what the platform can do, and how to use it, then this could be, you can just send them straight to the Builders Hub. And that's actually on our main website, celigo.com, and on the resources tab there at celigo.com. So that's it. Any last things before we get to Q&A, team? All right. So let's get started. But just before we start doing the questions, afterwards we are going to pop up that survey. That's on the right side of the engagement bar. So we really appreciate your feedback. You can do that while we're doing questions. You can do it afterward, whatever works out for you. If you'd like to get follow-up from a team member, you can click on the request follow-up in the top right, and we can also do that. So start with some questions. So we've got one here. We go. Are there any improvements for integrations with Microsoft Dynamics Business Central in the update?
So in the past couple months, there haven't been anything new for Business Central, but in the coming months, So what we've been doing over the past year and a half has been migrating all of our connectors onto our new HTTP framework, which gives you the full functionality of what that HTTP generic connector has. Dynamic Business Central right now is on the older framework, and it is planned to be migrated November of this year. So in the coming months, that migration will happen. But outside of that, would love to know in like a follow-up for that specific person, what specifically you'd be looking for being added to Dynamic Suite.
Yeah, I can also add to that. We're also building some pre-built templates with my team. We're looking at core use cases like for applications like Shopify, Amazon, Salesforce. We are trying to expand out our template library to include more from Business Central. I certainly encourage you to look on our marketplace. And if you have something you don't see, again, feel free to go into our product portal, submit your request. We're happy to see if we can meet your demands there.
Okay, going here. My company is requiring that all tools we use align to our SSO and MFA requirements. Does Celigo support those?
If I could come off the mic, I could take that one. Yeah. Thanks, Dave, for the question. Yeah, we do. We introduced both sets of features. It must be about 15 months ago or so. Initially SSO and then MFA. So yeah, if you have security follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. But definitely been a successful, and we all watched what happened in the last 3 months with another SaaS vendor having an issue with gaps in customers that moved to MFA. So I definitely would encourage people to consider, if you haven't yet with Celigo, started using our MFA functionality, to do so. It's good for you, and it's good for us for you to do that. Is a way to protect the integrity of your business. And we do what we can as far as security generally, but there are some things like MFA which are really required of the customer to take an action. So good to hear that you're doing that, and again, definitely encourage, if you have questions on it, again, reach out to one of the channels that you have here. Thanks, Dave.
I think this one's for Adam, right? With North America, you mean X12?
That is correct. So, that is correct. Yeah, I was actually typing it up. So yes, that is correct. We're supporting X12 in North America. Well, North America for us is essentially the X12 standard. We also support UCS, but essentially it's the North American standards themselves. We have all the kind of core protocols required for most North American customers between BAN AS2 and the FTP suite. Functional acknowledgement processing can handle generating or parsing 997s, which is the X12 standard as well. We'll pivot, of course, to European markets later this year. That's the control docs, the European EDI standard, which is EDIFACT. We'll support that. But yes, our product today will support X12.
All right. Any other questions? It's everybody's last chance. I'm going to go going once, going twice. All right, sold. So with that, I want to thank everybody. Oh, we got a chat. Let's just see, is that a question? Nope, that's just a thank you. All right. So thanks to everybody for joining us today. Thanks for being Celigo customers. Any last words from the rest of the team? Tony?
Appreciate it.
We'll have to work out who's going first next time.
I think it made for some excitement. I'm sure people were enjoying that.
What's going on? Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being great, the best customers in the world. And we will see you later this year.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.